Hello, and welcome back to our podcast where we talk about spirituality and well-being as well. This is a live podcast with myself, Kat Basilko from Soul Level Healing, and I've got Mel with me.
Hello, I'm Melanie Stevens. I'm a spiritual teacher and Reiki Master teacher from Devon.
Yes, so this week it is part 2 of the laws of the universe that we started last week. I thought it was actually quite cool that we had sort of different references and that you have, Mel, specifically a book about success, because I'm sure many of us are seeking that in life. So it's nice to tie that back into just the general, let's call it general laws of universe that I found. So if anyone is interested in the first, because I think, what was it? Sorry, Mel, you said 7 that you have in your book. Which is the 7 spiritual laws of success. And we talked about the first 4 in the first episode. So if you're interested, go back and listen to that. And today we'll just continue for the last 3. If you have any questions, as usual, just comment with the questions, whether it's on replay or live. We are doing these podcast episodes live so that if anyone wants to join us and ask questions, we will then address them at the end. So that's also possible. So yeah, and if you're just watching and tuning in, feel free to say hello. Just so you know, if you did have a question or a comment, we will address it at the end of our chat or discussion. Okay. Excuse me. So
Yeah, so
Mel, did you want to
just
continue? Sorry?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I think we've got a bit of a delay going on here. Yes. Oh, hello, whoever's on Facebook. Just to point out that last week we started talking about the universal laws, and we went through the first 4 laws in this era book. And the first 4 laws are the law of pure potentiality, the law of giving or giving and receiving and balance, the law of karma, also known as cause and effect, and the law of least effort. And we did talk about a few other bits in there as well. But if you did miss that podcast episode, then that was last Monday. So you'll be able to nip on to find it and familiarize yourself with those. They're not running any sequential order, so you can just listen today and then you can always go back and listen to last week another time if it interests you. And we're just going to have a general discussion about these different laws, what they mean, with some real life examples of how we've experienced them in our lives. So shall we get stuck here?
Yes, we shall. So yeah, let's mention the next one that you have in your book.
Yeah, so the next one of the 7 spiritual laws of success, and like Kat was saying, lots of people are interested in this at the moment. This is when we're talking about manifesting your dream life, making things happen for you. These are the spiritual laws that you need to utilize, things like the law of attraction, but there's more than that. So the next one that I've got mentioned in this book is the law of intention and desire, which is probably called many other things, as we established last week, that a lot of these laws are actually, they're named differently, but they're the same thing. So you might be familiar with them. So the spiritual law of success, that is intention and desire, is based on the fact that energy and information exists everywhere in nature. And the quantum field that you might have heard people talk about, it's just another name for the field of pure potentiality, which is what we were talking about last time. So the law of intention and desire is talking about creating things with our intention, and the fact that we need to match our intention with our words as well. So saying, oh, I want to be incredibly successful, but not matching it with your intention and your desire, and matching your energy to what you're putting out there, means you won't get it. So words alone, they are powerful, but they're not enough without that intention and desire behind the words. Which is kind of like the law of attraction, but it's not. The law of attraction is like attracts like, and we understand that, but that what we're trying to attract needs to be felt energetically before we can bring it into play. So that's when, you know, if you want to create something, act as if you've already got it, bring that into the present in your, with your energy, with your words, with your thoughts, with your behaviors and your actions, so that you're not just saying, I want to be a really successful business person, but not putting that desire and that intention behind it to power that up, to bring that to you. So have you found something similar in your research to that intention?
Yeah, definitely. I suppose it encompasses many of the from the 12 general laws of universe, and the ones that I have picked out would be the law of attraction, but also law of vibration, law of correspondence, and I was thinking of law of relativity as well, because success is means different things to different people. So how is that relative to where you are? I think sometimes it is, we might try and attract that success. And as you said, you have to be within the vibration of it to start off anyway. But let's say that you are, well, actually, let's say that you're not sure what it is exactly, the success that you're seeking, or you might have an idea, you know, that success for you means, I don't know, having 10 clients a month. Like, I don't know, if you're running a business, for example, it is so relative to where you are right now in your life that it would be easier for you to set that intention. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the full name that you just said that law is called. In desire, is it? Intention and desire?
Intention and desire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Intention and
So
desire.
yeah, so it might be a little bit difficult to set that intention if you don't know where you're going exactly. Because unless you set a very specific intention, then how would you, let's call it, using all of that language, how would you vibrate, right? With your frequency, how will that match this possibility? Because we're often very limited in what we maybe can achieve, let's say, instantly, compared to what we would like to achieve throughout our life, just because where we are right now, it would be a bit difficult to match with our energy where we can be. Does that make sense? Sorry, because I feel like it's yeah, it's sort of like, you know, you can set the desire or figure out what your desire is. You can set the intention, but unless you really feel like on that, within the, that you're able to really almost already feel successful in some level, it would be difficult to achieve if it's something completely different to where you are right now. So it's good to sort of set those let's call them realistic expectations, and just build from there.
Yeah, and I
Because
think this is
yeah,
why, you know, people will say, I want to win lots of money on the lottery, but it doesn't happen. And, you know, we've got the question there about attracting finances. And I think for me, one of the key things with manifestation and the working with the universal laws is breaking it down a little bit. Because if I try and imagine what it feels like to be a millionaire, I really struggle, because I've not had anything ever in my life that feels remotely like what that might feel like. I can't create, I would struggle to create that feeling. So, but I can imagine what it feels like to have money flowing in and you're doing quite well for yourself and you think, oh, this is all right. I've got financial freedom. Freedom, that feeling I can connect to. I can grab that, I can connect to it, I can energize it, I can work with it. And then money starts to flow in. Now, it doesn't come in hundreds of thousands of pounds, but it starts flowing in. Once it starts flowing in, you think, oh, hello, this is pretty good, this works. And then your vibration is raised again and more flows in. So I think when we are setting our intention, I'm not going to say it needs to be realistic, because anything is possible. Anything and everything is possible. But you need to be able to match the frequency of your desire, or it's not going to come in. And if you struggle to match it because it's so completely alien to you, you're going to struggle to bring it in. So I break it down a bit and just get into that space of how has it felt in my life when I have actually earned quite well? Oh, okay, yeah, I can do that. And then I match that energy and bring it in. There is a really useful bit. I was just looking for it in the book. That Deepak mentions the difference between attention and intention, and I think that's quite useful. And also recognizing the flip side of it here with this universal law. Is there are two things that we need to use when we're setting intention. There's attention and intention. Attention energizes something, the intention transforms it and brings it in. So what you put your attention on will grow stronger in your life. What you take your attention away from will wither, disintegrate, and disappear. But intention triggers the transformation of energy and information. So first we need to put our attention on what it is that we want, and then we need to set the intention, which is when we really dive into it and really get strong at what we're looking for. And actually, I think saying I want to be successful, it's not specific enough either, because like you just said, well, what does that mean? It means different things to different people. Okay, I want 2 extra clients this week. There you go. Really specific. How does it feel to have 2 extra clients? Oh, I can do that. I can feel that. That's a sharp intention. You put your attention on it as well. You keep focusing it, you keep energizing it like you're poking a fire. You keep going, and before you know it, you go, oh, I've got 2 more clients, and it's just coming. It feels effortless. So yeah, I like this. I like the intention setting. Writing things down as well, I find helps when I'm setting intentions, because it's like I've put a bit more effort into making it in. I brought it into the physical by writing it on paper, and then I've got a piece of paper in the physical, in the manifest, that I've created with my intention written down, and it feels a bit more tangible, feels a bit real then, and I find that's really helpful.
Yeah. And what you mentioned, just to point out that you want to, as much as possible, you want to make it effortless. So that's setting the intention, which means that's why sometimes you might need to be very specific, or sometimes you might need to, let's call it, lower your expectations for now, just to make it effortless, because we don't know what it feels like, or you, whoever is watching, listening, might not know what it feels like being a millionaire, really, like you gave in an example. So how are you going to match that? Really, why would you think about the amount, but you will want to think about how you feel and what you're experiencing internally, and then things might happen in a way that you actually don't expect them, and who knows, sometimes you might end up not having those millions, but you have reached the intention of feeling the freedom and happiness. I don't know, whatever it is for you. And you might be surprised that, oh, actually, I don't need maybe a million. Maybe, it can somehow manifest in some other way. And then you can work on it. And also, when you said the attention, it reminds me of something that I keep talking about in one of my courses called Reclaim Your Wellbeing, where I said that where your focus goes, energy flows, because that's also the law of attraction. When we put our focus, that's where our energy goes, and therefore that's where we create, or we co-create something in our lives. And specifically with maybe finances, because we have a question, how to attract finances. That's a very there's no short answer, because I think once, whatever you choose, if it's finances or if it's something else in your life that's quite major, I think unless you start digging into the reasons of why you feel the lack of something, it might be difficult to attract it. And money has so much, it's such a rabbit hole you can get into when you start deciphering as to what it is that your beliefs are. Why do you believe you don't have enough? This whole fear of scarcity that we all live in, the consciousness of lack that we all have, as if there is not enough, or there are so many things, which is why there are so many, I think, people that are offering, whether it's courses, workshops, healing, anything to do with our relationship to money in general, because unless we address that, it will be really difficult to probably to get to where you want to be. So
And it's very difficult when you're lacking something to step into the energy of having it, because your mind will keep saying yes, but anything that starts with but is generally not good. But if it says but my reality is I don't have it. But if you keep the energy of not having it, all the universe does is give you more of not having it. It's just learning a different way to create, because we tend to focus on what's happening around us externally and react to that, but we're creating what's around us externally with what's going on the inside. Also, I just want to read this bit because we're just talking about effortless, and it's in the book here. And intention lays the groundwork for the effortless, spontaneous, frictionless flow of pure potentiality, seeking expression from the unmanifest to the manifest. And then he goes on to say the only caution is that you use your intention for the benefit of mankind. So anytime I set an intention, I add at the end of it for the highest good of all, so that what I'm bringing in is for the good of all. It keeps my vibration high, and it's likely to come in. It's not going to do anyone any harm.
That is a very good actually point to make, because a lot of times some might be surprised to hear, but we sometimes can't attract money because we would feel guilty for having. That's one of the topics that is quite prevalent. That's one of the beliefs that I think most of the world, if not all of the world, carries when it comes to money. If someone has more than me, therefore there's less for someone else, or for me, or if I have more, then that means it's less for someone else. And that's a very, very deeply rooted belief and fear, and that I think many, many of us would need to address if they want to start attracting some big changes in their life when it comes to finances specifically. But yeah, that is a topic in itself, I think, finances. So we shall move on to the next one from your book.
The next one in my book is called The Law of Detachment. So I don't know if you've heard of this one before, but this is so the law. This is a strange one for me, because I get caught up in my masculine energy of getting stuff and being driven and excited to go out and get it. I find it really difficult to set my intention and then let it go, because I focus on it so much. But this is the law of detachment. In order to acquire anything in the physical universe, you have to relinquish your attachment to it. This doesn't mean giving up the intention at all. You don't give up the intention to create your desire, and you certainly don't give up the desire. You give up your attachment to the result. And I'm going to give you an example here. So I recently was without a car, and I set an intention with the universe initially, and I changed it to bring some money to me so I could buy a car. Now, that didn't happen, and I thought, okay, why don't I change up my intention here and just ask for a car? Because there's more than one way to get a car. You don't necessarily have to go out and buy one. Maybe I'll win one. Maybe I'll see a competition and I'll enter it and I'll win it. And if I say I want the money to get the car, I might miss that opportunity. So I just said, no, my intention is I would like a car, please. Universe, don't care what it is. It doesn't need to be particularly big. It just needs to get me from A to B. And then literally within weeks, my mum gave me her car because she was unable to drive anymore. And she said, look, just have your car. At some point in the future, you will buy your own car again. And then when you do, you can give me the car back then. But for now, I'm not using it. So you have it. So there we go. So I achieved what I asked for, but it didn't come in the way I was expecting it. Now, if I was really rigid on I want money to buy a car, I still wouldn't have one probably. So I had to give up how that was going to come into my life and just set the intention, universe, I need a car, bring me a car. And that's it. I got it, but not in the way I was expecting. And I feel like that's what the law of detachment is. It's the detachment. It says give up the detachment to the outcome, but I believe it's actually also give up the attachment to how you get it as well. Yeah. And again, with money, saying I want money. What do you want the money for? Why don't you focus on that? Because that might open up new ways of receiving. Like, oh, I want a new house, and it's a beautiful house, and you visualize it and you get all excited about it. Maybe you'll enter that amaze draw that's on telly and you'll win the house. You might not get the money first. We don't need to work out, I need to take step A to get to step B. The universe will take care of that if we trust it.
Yes, that's a very good point. I'm not sure how that relates to within the 12 laws, so I'm gonna think about it in a second, because I just want to talk about this law, because that's actually a very interesting one, and it's one that I believe often comes up when we receive card readings, the one that says surrender. So, because I think sometimes the word surrender can have a little bit of a negative connotation for people, as if they're meant to just not do anything, or just take whatever's coming at them and just be in some sort of a weakened position. But that's not what it says. It means, as you say, you're kind of focusing or intending something, but you're open to how it comes, in what form it comes. That's why we often need to just really nail down what it is that why are we actually asking for a particular thing. So, you know, for example, like, I don't know, in your case, obviously you were asking for a car specifically, but maybe for someone else, when they start to drill down, it turns out that technically they just need some sort of a comfortable form of transport, maybe because they need to go somewhere, I don't know, next month or whatever. I don't know. It's just, and it might happen that it will be something completely different, some other form of transport. Maybe it's not gonna be a car in the end. So it's just kind of trying to figure out what it is that I'm really, really asking for. And I have this idea that I have heard from Colette Baron-Reid. So she is an author of many, many oracle decks, but also many courses and books and things like that. She's, I suppose, a good caller. She's an intuitive reader, a spiritual teacher. And I was listening to her podcast not long ago, and I really like her idea, which I'm still going to implement. I just haven't bought the box yet, because she gave an idea of something called the God box, or she calls it God box. And it's just an idea that you literally just buy a box. I mean, you don't have to buy a box. You actually can create something for yourself. It can be a drawer, an empty drawer, where you just put your intention. You can write it down, so it kind of comes out of, it's in the physical, it's written down, but then you leave it up to God to bring it to you. Anyway, so it is this action of setting intention, but then releasing all of this resistance and expected results of how it should come in to God. You're like, you just trust, it's going to come in. You don't know when, or maybe exactly how, but it will. And I just found it quite a good idea, because sometimes I would think about stuff that I would like. And although I try to not put too much pressure behind it, somehow it kind of stays in my energy, if that makes sense. And so I might think about it maybe a little bit too much. And I feel like if I wrote it down and then had somewhere that I put it away, and it just releases that, it just has this release action, just get coming out of my head into a paper. I leave it up to the universe to deal with, or to help me with. And it's I really like that idea. So I thought I'll share it with people if they want to make it a little bit easier for themselves. And then you can keep those little pieces of paper in that box for years, for months, and then go back, in time, and have a look what has happened, what came to be, etc., etc. So yeah, definitely releasing any sort of resistance is one of the ways of being able to attract what we need. And I suppose one of the laws that comes to my mind with this one is again the law of vibration. Because once you release, you still, let's say, once you release the very specific idea or that specific intention, in order to help it come in, you want to work on your vibration in that sense.
Yeah.
You know, how well or how are you interpreting life in general, what you're paying, what you're focused on, what you're letting into your space, into your environment. Yeah, so that would be then maybe your only, let's call it, work or action that you can do, on a daily basis.
Right. You ready for the last one?
Yep.
The last one is a bit deep.
Oh,
And
okay.
and there's three parts. I'm just working out how to describe it because the book can get quite deep actually. So I'm just pulling out bits that I've underlined that are quite
Right.
easier to grasp. The last one is the law of Dharma, which is spelled Dharma, which is also called our purpose in life. So it will probably weave into the stuff you've been looking at, Kat, but I don't know if it will come in one law or not. So let me read a few bits from it. So this law, the law of Dharma, is saying that you as in every person has a unique talent and a unique way of expressing that talent. There's something that you can do better than anyone else in the whole world. And for every unique talent and unique expression of that talent, there are also unique needs. So I had to sit with that bit and try and get my head around it. But what it talks about it breaks it down into three components, and it is quite it sort of refers to spirituality quite a bit here in general. So each of us is here to discover our higher self or our spiritual self, which we know because we talk about it all the time. But this is our soul, this is our essence and our true nature, and that's why we've come to earth, to reconnect with that true nature. And that's the first fulfillment of the law of Dharma. So we need to realize that we are here in human form, that we are divine spiritual beings. We forget that when we come to the earth, and then the first part of our mission, if you like, is remembering that and reconnecting with it. The second component of the law of Dharma is to then express our unique talents. And then the book refers to, again, the fact that everyone has a talent that is unique in its expression to us, that no one else on the planet can express in the way that we do. That means there's one thing that you do and one way that you do it that is different to anyone else in the entire planet. And when you do that one thing that you are designed to do, that you came here to do, you lose track of time. Because it just becomes you become so present and absorbed in it. And then the third component of the law of Dharma is in service to humanity. So asking, how can I help? How can I help the people I come into contact with? So when you combine the ability to express your unique talent with service to humanity, then you make full use of that law. So it's about remembering our divinity, finding our purpose really, and using that purpose in service to humanity or the planet in some way. That's the law of Dharma. So it's quite a big one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is, and it's a very good one. In astrology, your point of Dharma is the North Node.
Yeah.
Obviously, it has a lot of other background foundational stuff, but that's kind of like the point in which you would want to look at to see what's your so-called true north, because like Dharma is your true north, right? Like your purpose, isn't it? I think Dharma actually means purpose,
Yeah,
potentially.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and that, I mean, when it comes to, so I'm just going to address, I suppose, the laws of the universe first. I would definitely tie up to that cause and effect, law of compensation, law of relativity. That's a good one. That's probably the main one, relative, because it's all relative to your dharma, let's say. And also the law of one, when you mentioned the service to humanity. And, that is definitely very true. I can speak of my own experience so far, where I it's only since I found out what my dharma is, although I don't think it's never like one thing, but it's I would say it's just a general idea of the path and the purpose towards which you're going. And then sometimes, you can do it in various different ways. There's nothing super specific or very linear in the universe in general, therefore it won't be in your life either. We're way too complex for that, but you can get an idea of what that is, and also get an idea of your talents and your gifts, like you said, by looking at all different kinds of charts like astrology, human design, which is one of the reasons I have that soul's purpose reading offer on my website, because if you find out what that is, it releases a lot of resistance, because you might no longer be pursuing something that you think you should be doing based on maybe your upbringing or what you were told you should be doing, or you're just kind of getting the clues from the outside world rather than from yourself. And it will probably, once you find out, it will illuminate your own unique way of being. Really, I really like putting together astrology and human design. Astrology has there's so much to astrology, but then, and it can give you a very good overview. It can pinpoint a few things as well, but then human design then tells you what's your energy like on a daily basis. Like astrology would be what's your life about, your life path, your purpose, or your personality, whatever astrology modality you're doing. And then human design would tell you, well, how does that actually translate into your daily actions, thinking patterns, and all of these kind of things. And those are both really great tools to discover what you just mentioned. What is it? What is my talent? What is my gift? We all, because you see, I really like the explanation of what gift is from one of I think it's Kyle Gray's card deck, where he talks about the gift being just your unique way of being. That is the gift. You don't have to, think of something. You don't have to be a genius or something, having, really high IQ or whatever, and then you're gifted. No, the gift is you just being yourself, because no one else in the world is like you. Therefore, we all have something to contribute. And unless there is some sort of an outlet for this contribution, it might just stay stuck, and you might feel unfulfilled, most likely, and just maybe a little bit lost in life, or just feel like you're, just maybe in some sort of a rat race that has no meaning or purpose. That's where that service to humanity comes in. It makes it so much more meaningful, and it adds on to, I guess I want to say, the oneness that we haven't really talked about yet, the law of oneness. Because I suppose if we look deep enough, eventually we'll see that we are all here for the same reason, generally, on Earth, because we're all contributing to the expansion of the universe. And we can, of course, if that's a little bit too far-fetched for someone, let's just start with the expansion of your own reality, your own life, and then that will expand. If you're yourself, if you are working effortlessly, if you're really shining with your talents and your gifts, and they're in service to humanity, that means they're in service to your family, your friends, co-workers. You might, how you carry yourself, what you offer, through your talents and gifts, people will take it, right? It's then in their reality, and then they do something with it. That's why, one of the easy things to do is, just to maybe, be friendly, for example, because then, other people will respond to you differently, and there's a high chance they will then be friendly to someone else, and so on and so on, and it then just spreads out throughout the whole.
Yeah, and I think actually that's a good point. When we get, and I've done this, when we think about our purpose, our unique expression, our purpose, why we're here, I think we very often tie that into our career. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that. You might be the most wonderful friend who's a really good listener, and people come and talk to you, not because you give advice, but because you really listen and support. That might be it. It doesn't have to be something that you create into a career. Your purpose might be to be the best listener to the people who need you. And you may find that you get lots of people coming to you wanting to talk, and you feel like, wow, why does everybody keep coming to me with their problems? Because you have that energy that's so supportive and loving and good at listening. That's your unique expression, and when you do that, you feel joyful, and time just disappears because you're fully in the moment with that person. And if that's how you feel when you're doing that, it might be as simple as that. It might be that you're, a great gardener, and you create a lovely space for wildlife to live in your garden, and that's your purpose. And what you do for a job is just what you do for a job. It doesn't necessarily have to be that every minute of every day you fully live your purpose all the time, because we've all got washing up to do and emptying the bin and stuff. That's not that doesn't give me that same fluffy feeling. But it doesn't have to be a huge thing. I think we can sometimes panic and overthink it and think, oh my god, am I in the wrong job? Am I doing something that I shouldn't be doing? It might not be that. It could be something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it's really fascinating to me sometimes when every now and again, depending on what I'm doing in my life at the time, I keep finding out all of these, let's say, even services that people offer that I never even thought of until obviously I was looking for it. And it's just so amazing how many people have so many different ideas. I can give you an example. For instance, I'm obviously looking at baby stuff now because I'm expecting. I never did before, so I wasn't really interested in anything baby related. But now through different groups or communities, I noticed the other day someone asked in a Facebook group, where where do you get your baby, or was it, sorry, birth jewelry or something? And I'm like, what? What is that even? They were just asking in the community group, someone, because they said, oh, I'm just thinking about getting this now and whatever. So I haven't looked into it like in detail, but I just thought that is like the first I have heard ever. There's even people who are specifically creating some sort of birth or breastfeeding, I think it was, even jewelry specifically. And I was like, wow. Like I just, and people would comment because those who already also purchased something, they obviously knew a few references, and there was a number of little shops and people that offer this kind of service and create this kind of jewelry. So they were given references. And I'm like, wow, like so many, there are so many people that are just so niche. Like I didn't even, never would have crossed my mind. But that's what happens. We all have something, that none of us can possibly comprehend, unless you find yourself in a certain environment at some point, and you notice that there's always something for somebody. Which also kind of, I don't know why this idea, not idea, but example popped in my head with the law of attraction and intention, and I can't remember whether it was the intention and desire that you were talking about, but I can't remember. But anyway, my example here also is sometimes when you want to do something, because we're talking about finances specifically, and kind of trying to attract specific amount or finances might just not happen for many reasons. Let's just not get into that right now. Let's say it's not happening, but it doesn't mean that what you feel you need is not going to show itself in your life. So for instance, for many years, I was very short on cash, on finances. And if I wanted to, I don't know, meditate on it every single day, it wouldn't have fixed my issue. At the time, I would not have received however much I felt I needed, or I wanted more like, at the time, in order to learn, because I wanted to learn things. So I was thinking, oh, this course, that course, as you know, Mel, we both really liked courses, and there are so many of them. And for a little while I felt a little bit limited or restricted to my choice. But that was very much just my perception. Because luckily, at the same time, just through my pure desire of learning something, I found all other ways of being able to learn what I wanted to learn. I didn't have to go for that particular, course or that particular teacher. It somehow fell in my lap that I received what I exactly needed to pursue that. Let's call it purpose, because I felt like it was a very, very strong desire for the knowledge in particular. And I was, let's say, although my mind might have been focusing on money, but really my energy was, oh, I just want to learn. I want to learn, luckily. So that helped me attract a lot of them. It helped me attract a lot of healing sessions for which I didn't have to pay much. It it's really it's really, you know, you might think that you need money for something, but it turns out that it's not about the money. It might come to you in a very different way. So yeah, so whatever creates resistance in your life, too much resistance you feel, maybe it's a very deep subject, theme in your life, try not to focus on it too much, but just sort of the whatever brings the least effort.
Yeah, it is a horrible situation when it's such a worry, and it's a worry that I think lots of people are going to have at the moment as well, and it can drain your energy as well, worrying about, but I need more money, I'm living month to month and I'm scraping. That's horrible. But I've had to learn a few things with it. Changing up my language is one.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to stop saying affirmations, which I didn't realize were affirmations, like I can't afford to do that. That's a really big affirmation to the universe, to say I don't have the money to enjoy my life. So then what do I get? More situations I get invited to that I have to turn down. So I've stopped using that kind of language, and I say things instead like, I have other priorities that need my attention, which might be paying my bills, putting food on the table. That's all that is. It's a priority. I could go out right now, but I wouldn't be able to eat. So I choose eating. But instead of affirming to the universe by using that phrase about being able to afford or not, I've had to stop myself saying that, because every time I say it, I'm bringing it into my life. And another thing, on a more practical note, really, when it comes to money, is switching the focus from, when you're trying to bring it in and you're like, well, I don't have this much coming in and I can't bring in anymore, and you're feeling a bit stuck. I've switched my focus personally on, okay, well, what's going out? Is the stuff going out that I don't need to go out? Could I shop around and get that cheaper? Do I still need that, or could I cancel it? And sometimes it's working on what's going out rather than bringing in more that can create more wealth. Sometimes that means giving up stuff that you really don't want to give up, but actually it creates that money. So there's more than one way to create things. Sometimes it takes a little bit of that practical thinking, you know, okay, well, let's switch my focus to something else. And, you know, your guides and the universe can help with that by setting an intention. Show me how I can create more wealth and financial freedom. So they give you things that you go, that's cheaper than what I'm paying. I can save some money. So even that's one way to work with the universe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, definitely a lot lies in the language that you use.
Yeah.
It really does. I was very similar. I just decided I'm not going to think this way. I can't be saying these affirmations, as you said. I can't afford. No, I can't. Just right now, I choose to do something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, is there? I thought we can have a look if there's a question because there was someone watching. So I'm just gonna have a quick read. Right. Yeah. So we have a comment. Sorry, about living week to week, and knowing that many people are in this situation. No car, nearly lost my house, and was living on $20 a week. So I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not addressing you by name because it just tells us it's Facebook user. So I take it was in the past because it sounds like it happened in the past. But yeah, it's difficult. I can imagine, it's really, really difficult when you're in that situation and then try and surrender, I suppose. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it is very possible. Yeah, you just kind of, you have to do it to believe it. So if anyone is very skeptical or cynical, do it for fun. Just see what happens, because if you won't, then how are you going to know? I mean, I definitely have turned things around for myself, just by changing my perspective, but also beliefs, deeply rooted beliefs, for sure. So yeah, it's not it might not be easy. It's not straightforward. Sometimes there are many ups and downs. But I do invite you, whoever's listening or watching, to do my manifestation workshop. It's now available to just buy on demand. It's only like a 1 hour, 12 minutes long recording, where I pretty much talk about all the things I think we talked about today, because it somehow happened that we were talking about finances. And so I was given a few examples in that workshop, and it gives you an idea of what it really takes to manifest the life of your dreams. So if you're trying to manifest something big in terms of changes in your life, and how might look a little bit complicated at first, but if you just take one step at a time and pick something that in which you can put least effort into, then that's the first step. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like I have necessarily anything else to add to these.
No, I don't think I do with the universal laws. It's just about playing around with them really, and take a look at the one we did last week as well if you've missed it, and play around with these universal laws and getting an understanding of how the universe works. I think is really the first step, is just understanding how energy works. Everything is energy, everything is frequency. And by learning about the universal laws, you get these like epiphanies of, right, okay, I can see how this works now. And I think I really like the word curious. Get curious about how things can work for you. Try your intention setting, putting your attention on something, then creating your intention, and then release it out to the universe and say, right, okay, I want you to help me to create something different. Show me ways that I can be more frugal. Show me ways that I can bring in more money. Show me ways that I can feel, more peaceful if you're suffering with anxiety. Show me things that will bring me peace. And then notice what comes into your life physically, what you start to see when you're out and about, what you start to notice crop up on your TV screen or your phone, and just get a bit playful with it and let the universe show you what it's capable of. Because when you ask it for help, it actually does deliver. We're not on our own. We don't have to struggle on our own, but we don't teach kids this at school. So unless you start to look into it, you wouldn't know you can even do that. So have some fun with it and play around with it and see what you can create in your life. And when it shows up, I mean, I asked the universe the other day, send me a robin, I want to see a robin today, because I know my loved ones are around me when I see a robin. And I saw a robin, and then I got that little moment of joy when I saw it, like, oh, thank you. Start small if you want to, and just ask for random things, and then just get curious about how it's going to show up.
And that will be always a good start.
Exactly, that's the place to start.
Yeah. Okay, well, there's nothing that comes to my mind to add, so I guess we can finish for today, unless there are any other questions from anyone who's watching. And as usual, please let us know if you would like us to cover something a little bit more in depth, maybe something from this episode or previous, and we can make a whole separate episode on that, whether you're watching live or on replay now or in the future. We're happy to cover all different kinds of subjects when it comes to spirituality, of course. Not like let's
101 ways to wash your car. No.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just kind of stalling a little bit just to see if there is another comment, because sometimes they come in a little bit later. But otherwise we will be finishing. And I just want to say, actually, I think it was actually quite good that you happen to have a book that talks about success, spiritual laws of success. And then we were able to encompass just the laws of the universe in general, how that translates. But we at least gave some sort of a focus, I guess, on this conversation with the success as an intention. Okay, so I'm going to assume that there are no comments or questions. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening, and we shall see you next time.
We'll see you next week.